It's the counties that run elections and buy voting machines. So the make and model varies from place to place, but there are two major types. Optical scan machines read a paper ballot that you have voted.
7 o'clock, polls are closed.
후보들의 막판 각축전만큼이나 관심을 끄는 것이 있다면 바로 전자개표 시스템. 컴퓨터가 결과를 바로 읽어 일일이 손으로 세고 확인하는 수고를 덜게 된다.
The votes themselves are stored on the computer's memory cards.
This is the voter cartridge. This cartridge is very important, and it goes right into our bag.
There it is.
These memory cards are taken to a master computer, sometimes called the central tabulator, which reads the votes, adds them up, and then declares the winner.
각 후보한테 그 분류가 된 그 표는 그 상태로 중앙선관위 전산실로 보내지게 되면은 또 그 데이터가 방송국 서버를 통해서 방송국으로 보내지게 돼서 실시간으로 국민들이 이 개표 실황을 볼 수 있도록 그렇게 제공이 되는 시스템입니다.
The problem is that you can't see a computer adding up the votes. So, how do you know if it's counted correctly?
Suppose that we didn't have any computers at all, and when you went to vote, the voting booth was separated by a curtain, and there was a guy behind the curtain who would write down your votes. So you just dictate them, he writes them down, and when you're done, you leave without being able to look at the ballot. Most people in their right mind would not trust this process. The guy behind the curtain could be incompetent, he could hear your votes wrong and record them improperly, or it could be that he doesn't like your political affiliation and would prefer to see your votes cast for someone else. In an electronic voting machine, you don't have a little guy inside the machine taking dictation, but you have lots of people who are involved in writing the software and lots of people who could have touched the software before it went into that machine. If one of those people puts something malicious in the software and it's distributed to all the machines, then that one person could be responsible for the change of possibly tens of thousands of votes, maybe even hundreds of thousands across the country. That's a very dangerous situation.
두 표마다 조작. 1번, 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 1번. 장마치 이렇게. 두 표마다 조작하니까 5표가 나옵니다. 50% 조작이죠. 100% 조작이에요? 50% 조작이죠. 50% 조작. 이런 식으로 조작이 마음대로 일어나는 거죠. 내가 표수를 조작 안 하고 싶다. 그러면 제가 이렇게 숫자를 크게 이렇게 해두고 득표에서 입력 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯. 2번 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯. 표가 하도 조작이 안 됐죠. 이런 상태에서 이제 점검을 하고 표가 조작이 안 됐으니까 정상적으로 작동합니다. 조작을 하고 싶으면 언제든지 이렇게 표수를 내가 바꿔주면 몇 표마다 조작할 거냐. 이렇게 3표마다 조작하겠다. 그러면 1번을 다 입력하는데도 결과는 7표, 3표로 나오겠죠. 이렇게 마음대로 프로그램을 내가 원하는 대로 조작이 됩니다. 이렇게 2표마다 하고 1번 후보, 2번 후보, 1번 후보, 2번 후보, 2번 후보, 1번 후보, 1번 후보, 2번 후보, 1번 후보, 2번 후보. 똑같이 5표, 5표인데 결과는 3표, 7표. 이렇게 마음대로 조작이 돼 나오죠. 그래서 이거 프로그램이 조작 가능성이 있는 이런 걸 써서는 안 된다는 거죠.
이제 끝났죠.
네, 끝났어요.
And we would never know whether our election was controlled by 100 million voters or by one guy sitting in his grandmother's basement.
In California, it was only the touchscreens that had been decertified. The central tabulating software, GEMS, was still in use.
Now, the central tabulator is sort of the one machine to rule them all. It collects all the votes. And every company, not just Diebold, has this central tabulator. Because, of course, the way you vote is you vote in individual precincts. They're scattered around. And there has to be one machine to pull all these threads together, add them all up, and pronounce the winner.
Bev wanted to find out if GEMS was really keeping the votes secure. And so she turned to computer security expert Dr. Hugh Thompson.
I was at this massive hacker/computer security conference, and I get approached by this grandmotherly figure, and she tells me that, hey, I've got access to the tabulation software from one of the biggest electronic voting manufacturers on the planet. I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. And then she says, can you take a look at it for me? I'd say the thing that shocked me was how easy vote totals could be changed. So imagine you can go into a box and essentially rewrite history. And there's no record of you rewriting history. And the only record of the history itself is the thing that you changed. And that's pretty scary to me.
Bev and Hugh worked out a way to demonstrate the insecurity of GEMS. She was invited to appear with her computer hack on national TV with former presidential candidate Governor Howard Dean.
All right, Bev, show me how to do this.
Well, what we have here is the central tabulator computer. Now, in a voting system, you have all these different voting machines at all the different polling places. All those machines feed into the one machine so it can add up all the votes. So, of course, if you were going to do something you shouldn't to a voting machine, would it be more convenient to do it to the 4,000 machines or to just come in here to one machine and deal with all of them at once? The GEMS program is the program that is the central tabulator program. And I'm going to put in a password here. Okay, we're in. Now, this is the official program that the county supervisor sees. As we can see here, Howard Dean has 1,000 votes, and Lex Luthor has 500. So you're beating Lex Luthor, and we're
2-1.
Yes, and Tiger Woods unfortunately doesn't have any votes yet.
All right.
All right, let's close this out. I was just showing you the legitimate way to go in and look at votes, which of course you can't tamper with. Go to the Start menu, and I'm going to show you something tricky. And I want you to go to My Computer and just click that. And you're going to see go to Local Disk C and go to Program Files. Go to Central Tabulator Votes and then go to the sum of the candidates, which is that table. You see we have 800 votes here for you and 400 for Lex Luthor. Let's just flip those. We'll make that 400. And we'll give 100 votes to Tiger. Let's just see what happened here. We'll go back into GEMS the legitimate way. And as you can see now, Howard Dean only has 500 votes. Lex Luthor has 900 and Tiger Woods has 100 votes. We just edited an election. It took us 90 seconds.
The world watches our great democracy function.
It's that magic moment when the greatest democracy on the face of the planet gets to show the world how we work.
It would be nothing better for our system, for the election to be conclusively over tonight, so that I think it's going to be me, so I can go on and lead this country.
2신 동안 기계의 판독 능력은 시간당 15,000장. 투표 마감 후 3시간이면 당락이 판가름 난다.
The politicians said everything was fine, but it wasn't. The machines weren't just insecure. They malfunctioned, leaving thousands without a vote.
And now, nobody knows.
As the precincts closed, the poll workers switched the machines to reporting mode, signed off on the results, and took the memory cards to the central tabulating computers.
Well, let me see.
America waited for the computers to give the official results.
John first. Karen Hughes sounding pretty upbeat right now, John. What are you hearing?
Look, no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. That is a cliche. We repeat it a lot, but it also happens to be true. They've always said yes, Wisconsin and Iowa. If you look at the voting returns coming in right now, the latest I brought up a few minutes ago, I believe Senator Kerry has a narrow lead in both states.
In America, it is vital that every vote count and that every vote be counted. But the outcome should be decided by voters, not a protracted legal process.
Cliff Arnebeck, an Ohio election attorney, spoke with John Kerry shortly after.
Call from Senator Kerry comes into the hotel room, which a group of us are there meeting with Reverend Jackson. And part of that dialogue includes Kerry sharing the fact that in New Mexico, no matter what the demographics of the jurisdiction are, if the votes are being counted by optical scan machines, they're coming out for Bush. This is, to anyone who's familiar with the situation, this means Kerry knows there's fraud in that election. Optical scan machines are being rigged to produce a result for Bush, contrary to what the votes the voters are casting.
I raise this objection because I am convinced that we as a body must conduct a formal and legitimate debate about election irregularities. I raise this objection to debate the process and protect the integrity of the true will of the people.
How to do this, we're going to ask you to remain outside to ensure that we've not prepared some sort of a device that has been pre-rigged. Pick the number, and then we'll grab that unit, and that will be the device that we will count the ballots on.
I just feel like this is the one.
Okay, and the winner is unit 15191. What we have here is a programmed optical scan ballot. There is only one question on this ballot. Can the votes on the Diebold system be hacked using the memory card?
I have only touched the memory card, not the other parts of the Diebold election system, which is going to be used today. Only the memory card.
I can certainly speak for myself and Harry, and that we're going to vote yes.
All right, then let's have the rest of us vote no. Two individuals, Hugh and Harry, will be voting yes. The rest of us will be voting no. Well, it's down to you. You're the last voter, Harry.
All right. I think it could be. So I vote for yes.
You will be the second yes.
All right. Here is the memory card I have touched.
Okay. Now, this is the only piece of Diebold equipment that you've used.
That's correct.
Well, thank you. Let me take your ballot in. This card will go into this slot. The next activity that the election worker does on the morning of the election is turn the machine on, making it live to receive votes. When you do that, this machine will produce what is called a zero total tape. The machine is going through a self-test analysis, and then it will spontaneously turn on. This is Harry's card that is telling us that there are 0 votes stored in the memory. Okay, let me get the ballots. Let's insert a yes ballot. We're going to put in another no. 7. And the last no ballot, 8. Placing the ender card in this device and telling it to turn off its counting function and do its reporting function will now cause the voting machine to turn out a tape reading the number of votes that it had just read. Oh my.
7 yes, 1 no.
Oh my God. 7 people said it could be hacked.
And we put through 6 and 2.
6
no
no's
and 2 yes.
Oh my gosh, do you know what this means?
How do we know that Harry didn't just change the report and the votes themselves on the memory card are still correct? If that was the case, when they go into GEMS, the results would be different, isn't that right?
I mean, the only way to know that is to read them into GEMS and to check the vote totals.
See what GEMS says. So should we do that?
If I had not seen what was behind this, I'd have no reason not to. I would have certified this election as a true and accurate result of a vote.
The reason's because there are people out there who are giving their lives to try to make our elections secure, and they're being called conspiracy theorists and technophobes, and these vendors are lying and saying that everything's all right, and it's not all right.